Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for London Clubs Carnage. It's coming to you at a weird time of the week, okay? It's a weird time of the week. The fixtures are all over the place. It's a discombobulation out there this week in football. No one understands what's going on. The fixtures is a mess. So we're just squeezing it in wherever we can and getting it out to you. But before we get into everything, yes, Tobs will be here soon. Is he diving from the challenge after a 2-2 draw against Brentford? Who knows? Do you know what I'm saying? Who knows? But Potts, how you doing, sir? Welcome back, man. Good to see you.
Listen, Merry Christmas all. Yeah, Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoyed your Christmas day. I hope you enjoyed your Boxing Day, particularly Lawless. I hope you're enjoying your build up to New Year. Absolute pleasure having you on. And to be fair, what I love about this time of the year, man, is you have absolutely no idea what day is what. Like if someone told me today it's a Saturday, I'd just go, yeah, cool. That sounds about right. I have no idea, man. Off work, everyone's enjoying Christmas and the New Year. So buzzing to be back, bruv. Buzzing to be back.
And a good win for you, of course, at the expense of Lawless. How are you doing, sir? It's been a tough week. I don't know. You're getting it from all angles on the football pitch and on the socials. You're having to bat away everybody at the moment.
It's going to take a quick drink, Lawless. It's going to take a quick drink.
Yeah. Listen, mate. I'm not glad to be back. You know what? Let me take a quick drink. I'm drinking out of the bottle.
Was that whiskey?
My God.
Rum.
I love rum.
Old brigand. I tell you, mate. I knew this would happen. I was not looking forward to football coming back. And it came back and it was worse than expected. But yeah, man. And then like Twitter's been going crazy. You know what I mean? Like you do something on these platforms and you think, you know what? Like I go on Box to Box with Turkish and I'm like, do you know what? This is the most positive I've ever been about Arsenal. I thought like, yeah, finally, for once, the Arsenal fans are going to be so chill with me. They're going to be like, yeah, like, you know, he was so positive. He bigged up the team. He was talking how good Odegaard's been. Saka, he bigged him up to the hills, said he's going to be a special player. I thought, yeah, they're not going to have no problems with me. Little did I know, boy. Jeez.
You got clipped.
Yeah.
You got diced, flipped, and thrown in a pan and let to sizzle and burn. Nobody, and then the fire alarm went off, and it's just been ringing ever since. And now here you are, Saka. You're a disgrace. You're a cheat. You're a liar. You didn't give Saka his flowers after he bodied Declan Rice on that pitch in terms of, you know, shoulder to shoulder. How dare you call Saka weak? He has much more upper body strength than you're giving him credit for. And of course, you did say as well, obviously on last show, if Moyes did manage to get a win against one of the top six, which I was actually stunned when I heard the statistic. Was it 70 matches against the top six away from home? Is it right? Since his managerial career at Everton, at Sunderland, obviously West Ham, whoever else, and not a singular win. How do you go away from home to the top six with the teams he's managed? West Ham, who on Talking Tactics today with James, we went through that West Ham team and the spending over the last 3 or 4 windows. And we looked at your team and we compared it with Newcastle. And we thought to ourselves, quality player for player, why are Newcastle second and why are you guys where you are? When you look at the quality of players, there's so many good players in that West Ham squad that are underperforming under David Moyes. And if you were to give Eddie Howe that team, what could he potentially do with it? With your Skamakas, with your Cornets, with your Rice, you know, Paqueta, you know, Zuma, Aguerd's in there now, Emerson from Chelsea's in that left back. Like so many options. It's ridiculous. And then, yeah, so we went through that. And I mean, again, just you guys, you took the lead, great. But after that, you got absolutely dealt with. Odegaard, Saka, everybody. It was mad. I mean, same old Pots for you. And same old for you, Lawless, in terms of Moyes. Is Moyes needs to be sacked, or are we going to give him another game, a little bit more time?
There's a lot to unpack there, right? Let me start off with the Saka stuff, right? Let me start off with that. So yeah, like I was asked a question
First
about
Salib and now Saka. I'm starting to think you hate S's.
No, you know
what?
Arsenal.
Arsenal. That's what it is.
I bigged him up. You know, I said like what a quality player he is, what he's going to become, what a great guy he seems to be off the pitch. Just a really good kid who I think has a bright future. The only one thing I said is maybe I said, look, he seems a bit lightweight. And the England game was fresh in my mind, right? And if people want to say, okay, this was a foul, that wasn't a foul, whatever, right? I looked at the game and thought, in that moment, he should have been stronger. So, yeah, I basically made a statement because one game was fresh in my mind. Lightweight was definitely too harsh. And, yeah, he proved me wrong. He showed his strength in that game. And I have to give him credit. He was unbelievable. I do think, and I've said this before, I think if he packs on a little bit more weight, I think he could become unstoppable. You know, I think he's a little bit lighter than Martinelli weight-wise. I can just see him if he adds on a little bit more.
But if he added on more muscle mass, would that not stop him from being as agile? And
I think there's a balance in it. Like, I'm not saying, like, there's about 10 kilograms between him and Antonio, right? No one's saying him to become like Antonio. I think he will naturally, as he gets older, get a little bit heavier.
Do you think he needs to, though? Like, you look at Mahrez, he's pretty slender. Bernardo Silva's pretty slender.
I don't think he needs to. I just look at the way that he plays. I just think he's going to have a lot of players targeting him and gunning for him because he's just going to become that guy. So I think it can add an extra level to his game, just a little bit more bulk, not massively. I'm just saying it's not a diss on him. I just think that could be something that could really turn him into a monster. Really, that's like an all well-rounded player. I have to say, yeah, he did show strength in that game. Rice was the one who was lightweight in that game. You know, I have to say, and he has to be called out for his performance. He's usually the guy that's you know, dragging us through games. He was poor. A lot of our team was poor. Moyes was cowardly in his approach. Again, nothing changed. Absolutely nothing changed. 6 weeks and nothing has changed. I don't know how you can, you know, get away with that. It's not even like no one expected us to beat Arsenal. I said we'd lose. But it was just an awful, pathetic performance. So it's on the manager. Like, we have to. I've seen us go to that ground so many times, and we always have, you know, our moments in the game. We always, you know, give Arsenal a game away from home. Yes, they always come out the winners, but at least there's something to hold on to there. It was just as one-sided as you like. Arsenal didn't even really have to try it. You know, yeah, we defended well in the first half and you know, made things a little bit difficult for them, but we didn't really cause them any threats on the other end of the pitch apart from the penalty situation, you know, so it was poor. But yeah, I did get clipped up as well, so no problem with that. The game is the game. But yeah, that's how it goes, man. But Moyes, like I said, I knew we wouldn't win it. That's why I was like, look, if he wins that game, I'll rethink it because, boy, oh man,
you knew he wasn't actually going to be able to do it. I mean, what do you think, Potts, in terms of Saka and his weight and not being stocky? I thought he was brilliant again in that game. Him at Odegaard and Ben White on that right hand side is just, the chemistry is just mad. Like, the amount of chances they can create on that right hand side is ridiculous. It's insane, mad.
Yeah, man, this first 11 is wicked, mate. I can't lie. I think if this first 11 was to stay fit, people would sit there and say, wow, Arsenal are serious this season. It's our depth which lets us down. As for Saka, I don't really see that as an issue in his game. I never have. I've never looked at Saka and thought, oh, he's down on the floor again. Oh, he's rolling again. Oh, get up again. Oh, strength, man. Where's your strength? I've never looked at that because I feel like it's part of his game that early on he had to develop quickly because he was actually quite a small, sort of slim, like you said, slender guy. He's always managed to use his strength to circle around them players. He does that unbelievable. I don't know how he does it every time and how, you know, has it become predictable where he just spins players on the circle. You need a hell of a lot of strength if you're doing that consistently. So I've never seen him as someone that was getting pushed off the ball. The actual decision that or incident Lawless talking about in England, I thought was a foul. I thought Upamecano had fouled him. A few people had thought that watching the watch along on Don Robbie. I thought it was a foul. Most of the lads on the sofa did. But I believe that all of those kind of doubts about him and his weaknesses were put to bed. I thought he was sensational in parts of that game, man. To be fair, I thought actually the whole of our front three had some form of involvement with all of the goals by either scoring or be a part of them. But for me, Matisse, our midfield trio, mate, it's just so good this season. Like, it's been so good. I look at what Xhaka's about in the last 7 seasons and think, what are you? He's never been a holding midfielder, that's for sure, because at the moment, this guy's been consistently good. And what each of them are doing is complementing the other. So Thomas Partey, in my opinion, in his position is absolutely elite. We cannot afford to let this guy be injured anymore because he's so vital and integral to what we do. He then allows Granit Xhaka to be that progressive midfielder that he's been this season. Martin Ødegaard was magical, mate. Absolutely magnificent in parts of that game. Just absolutely ran the show. So I want them to get credit. But I have to say, as much as I'm with Lawless on what David Moyes game management-wise is about, like lack of subs, lack of change and stuff, if it ain't working, those midfield three were poor. So bad. Like, really, really bad. I don't get this Souček guy. I don't get it. I see a bit of a goon, if I'm honest. I just see a bit of a lump. Obviously, you've got Paqueta. Nah. Jury's out still, but nah. I don't know what he's about. And then Declan Rice, who I thought actually played quite all right in the first half, and I think he's a sensational talent, by the way, was just getting bullied and beaten up by our midfield. They were just having him for breakfast. Like, if that was a Chelsea watching him, they'd be like, we'll give you 30 million because he was not 120 or whatever West Ham think he was. So, yeah, it was a bad night for West Ham in the second half. But I have to give them credit in the first half. I thought they nullified our attack. I thought they made it very difficult for Arsenal. They were allowing Saka and Martinelli to come back inside with their passes because they were not allowing them to get down. And although I thought Soufal and Cresswell were questionable in the second half, I thought Cresswell and Soufal in the first half were actually pretty good, if I'm honest with you. So it was a game in the second half where we literally came out and tried to do exactly what we're doing in the first half with a little bit more telepathy between Eddie and Nketiah and the other two, because I felt like his movement was sensational in parts. In the second half, he was a hell of a lot better with his movement because there was more of an understanding. It's fine having intensity and energy and running around, but when you're just doing it without anybody really finding you, it's not really working. And I felt that changed in the second half. If that turn was Ødegaard, Messi, Mbappe, Haaland, we'd all be going, what a brilliant turn, what a great finish. I thought his goal was really well worked by Eddie. I've got to say the other two were not great goals from Arsenal. I'm looking at Fabianski there for Martinelli. I don't quite know how he's been beat there at his near post. And the first one, let's be honest, was lucky, man. It was a crap shot from Ødegaard that just hit Saka. And Soufal's having a cup of tea, late playing everyone on side. Or was it Souček? I can't remember. But that was a poor one. Soufal. So, bit lucky with how we scored the goals, but we deserved to win the game, man. We were much better, particularly in the second half. And it's just proven that life without Jesus, people may, want it to be a bad thing, but I certainly didn't feel like we completely utterly missed this guy, and I think that needs to be said because we're better with him, but without him,
shaking your head.
I was worried.
I think with Jesus, there are tougher tests to come. West Ham are in awful form. They're in awful form. When Arsenal play City with Nketiah and there's maybe less chances and it's it's a real title decider potentially, and it's like neck and neck and you've got to take your chances and be really clinical. That will be when Nketiah has to step up in the big moments, Europa League, latter stages, all these things. But Jesus is out for 3 months, so he should be back around, February or something.
That will be one of the easiest games Arsenal will play all season. Right.
Second half, I agree. First half, it wasn't.
It's mad that they can go a goal behind and just turn it on like that.
You know what I mean? But the thing is, even in the first half, we made it difficult for you to break us down, but we didn't offer anything on the other end. So you could just be patient and take your time. There was no fear of us hitting you on the counter. I said one moment, where we do break, and a moment of madness from Saliba, the best defender in world football, gives away a penalty. And I've seen Arsenal fans go, it's not. I mean, he goes in, flies in, and there's light contact, but there's contact. He's impeding Bowen.
There's a penalty.
That's a penalty. Unlike, I thought the ref was a clown. That penalty he tried to give, I think it was against Cresswell. when it blatantly hits him in the head and he's calling out for handball. Oh my God, if there was, we slate VAR, man. If there was no VAR and they gave that as a penalty, mate, that would be criminal. I thought the ref was poor. He gave Soufal a yellow later on, which I thought was ridiculous as he gets the ball. I thought Soufal, apart from playing that goal on side, I got some stick for saying like he's one of the players that can come out and hold his head high. He was at it, man. He was hungry. But I can't say the same for the rest of the team. People will get on him and push agendas now. Rice ain't all that. Paqueta's rubbish, this, that, and the other. But I'm not ready to really judge any players off of that
under this current structure.
Yeah, I can see it's just complete and total apathy in the team. Moyes, I don't know what he's trying to do. It's just a case of don't go out there and don't get beat. Don't try and win. Don't stick your necks out there. Just don't get beat. And it's time for a change, I'm afraid. I can't see what he's trying to do. Someone have said to me about transition. Where's the signs of transition? Like, I need to see on the pitch what is telling me that, okay, there's a transition happening. Because all I see is crap football and what have we won, like 4 games in 15, 16. The stats are mad, like how many games that we have lost under Moyes, even going back to last season. It's insane. We're in absolute relegation form, and I can't see us beating Brentford at home. You know, I'm
really.
Going to that.
I mean, Brentford. Yeah, I mean, Brentford have beaten Manchester City before the break. They've drawn against Tottenham after they kind of let it slip there. They're not an easy team to come up against. Ivan Toney's still obviously eligible and still playing, scoring. So, personally, I think it is time for him to go. I feel like with this crop of players that you have, you shouldn't be where you are. And I'm not confident in his ability to manage that level of technical ability that you've acquired. I don't think they're Moyes signings. I think Moyes has kind of been renowned for like your Fellaini's, and he even brought him to Manchester United and being more direct. He's got Antonio, he went more direct. And I think when you give Moyes, like you said before, those players in that style to do a job and to get you to a certain place, cool. But it's similar to even maybe like an Alan Pardew at Newcastle. Once they finish 5th, they were only ever going to fall away. And that was maybe an opportunity like with a Demba Ba and a Pape Cisse and a Cabaye, and to capitalize and try and go again. You have to be ruthless to know when to do that. Is Moyes on some sort of long-term contract that maybe if you were to sack him like with Brendan Rodgers at Leicester where you would suffer financially? When does this contract expire?
I don't. Last time I checked, I don't think so. It'll probably be like a couple of years left. I don't think he's on some massive contract or anything. So, but even still, like, we can't afford to get relegated. Like,
you should. But you literally cannot get relegated. Forget about afford it. The players that you brought in, if you get relegated, it would be one of the most embarrassing relegations I've ever seen.
Yeah, and that's it. Financially catastrophic. But I honestly, we're in absolute danger of getting relegated. I can't see people who believe that we can turn it around. The only teams he's really beat this year in the league are teams like Norwich, Bournemouth, Fulham, Wolves. You know, there's no like top 10 sides that we can say, okay, yeah, he's beat those sides. Like anyone of quality. And this is my worry now. Like the teams that we've got coming up, I can't see us beating, and like the away record is complete garbage. We're not scoring goals at all from open play. Our set pieces are trash, which was something that we was quite good at before. So where are the goals coming from? Where are the wins coming from?
You got Brentford, Leeds, and Wolves, right?
Yeah.
You can't lose any of them.
We never
can't lose any of them.
I don't think we've ever won away at Wolves since they've come back up. I've been there a few times to those games, and we've always just been completely dog shit.
Because you say you don't want relegation, but if you're losing to like Brentford are top, don't get me wrong, but Leeds and Wolves at the moment are struggling. They're not teams you look at and go, can't see us getting a win out of them. They're playing too good. They're below you. They're in a relegation fight, the pair of them. If you then lose to the people that are in the relegation fight, then guess what? You're in a relegation fight. And I just think that if those 3 games you don't pick up points, he's got to go. Like for me, I just get him anyway. You know what I'm like? I was like this with Arteta. Like, let's just get it done. I don't see it getting any better, blah, blah, blah. And I think that you're justifiable, like I was at the time. I think if people were saying it now, I think they'd be wrong. Top of the league, etc. You're with Moyes saying, I'm done. I don't think that's a bad thing to say. It's a results business. You spent £170 million. I don't see a style of play. He's not getting the best out of any of those players. I don't see any game management or tactics to think, do you know what? If things are going bad, he's the bloke to make it go right. I look at his experience and think, yeah, that's probably the only thing he's got going for him. But really, 70 games and he hasn't won any of them in the top 4? That's a shocking stat.
Top six.
Sorry,
isn't it?
top 6.
Yeah.
That is a shocking stat. That is not one to be proud of, mate. And trust me, he's a great manager of time. And I think he's actually done a good job at West Ham. I do. Up until this season, I think to get West Ham to a European semi-final is a magnificent job, whether you love or hate the man. But sometimes you can only take them so far. And I think he's at that point now where it's a results business. West Ham cannot flirt with relegation. And if you're going to go and have to get a manager that might not be as good as Moyes, but will do a fresh change to get you there, I'd take the plunge and go and do it, because you've actually got a side there that's probably in the best shape it's been for a long time as a West Ham fan, Lawless. You're used to like George McCartney at left back and, you know, players at the back that you're thinking, oh, I hope he can get us into the playoffs or championship. West Ham have never had a side with Lucas Paqueta, Declan Rice, Jared Bowen, these types of players. And I think if you put your 11 together now, you'd say that should be fighting for, you know, the European Conference League sort of places again outside of the top 6. It doesn't look like it's going to do that at the moment. Like, to me, it's bad, isn't it?
It's genuinely a team that should capitalize on any of the big 6 falling or any of the big 6 having a bad season, like Newcastle are doing. Like, they've capitalized on Chelsea being underwhelmingly poor like this season. So Newcastle have capitalized and are in there. Obviously, Newcastle are not in Europe, but West Ham, player for player wise, alongside Newcastle, they should be having the similar aspirations. We have to give massive credit as well, obviously, to Nketiah's goal. Like that, obviously, we expect the rest of them to chip in, the Sakas, the Odegaards, but Nketiah's finish, the technique for him to just spin that defender was top class. Like, it was proper impressive. It's a proper striker's goal. And if he's able to bring goals into that team, obviously Jesus was struggling. He's gonna get a lot of love very quickly from Arsenal fans, because I don't think he is under pressure in the context of the fact that you're going for the league, but because the expectations are so low with him, and kind of like it's kind of everybody's kind of nationally just agreed that he does need another striker to come in. He's kind of playing with a chip on his shoulder a little bit. Like, every time I go out here, I'm going to prove you people wrong. Do you know what I mean? So it's impressive.
You know, Eddie's got 11 goals in 11 starts at the Emirates. You know, you can't really do much more than that in terms of his home record. What's let him down in the past is everything else that sounds weird, doesn't it, when I say this, but everything that he's not good at has kind of been what everyone's pointing at is him to do better. Now, that's actually like quite a lot of players, to be honest, not just Eddie. But I get where people are saying that they wanted to see him improving. I've seen a lot of improvement off the ball. I think he's definitely stronger. There's development with his play. But there is that killer instinct of, are you actually going to balloon this over the bar, or are you going to do what you did against West Ham, roll the player and slot it home? And there's sometimes that 50-50 with that. I'm going to see a lot of misses from Eddie. I'm going to see a lot of goals from Eddie. Now, some people have said already, but Jesus does that. He misses chances. Jesus hasn't actually scored for, I think, since the North London derby. But it's everything else that he brings with it. And that's what Eddie needs to get better at. Now, if Eddie's going to start to link up play and not run away from everybody and do his movement with no one actually finding him, if he's going to get more involved and try to actually link up some of the play like he was doing in the second half against West Ham, then we might be okay for a few games without Jesus. But if it was actually like, look, you're going for a title and Eddie's your striker, I'm no mug to sit there and think that I'm naive enough to expect us to win a title with him up top.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting with the Mudryk signing, because that looks like it's going to be potentially happening.
Do you think so? Because it seems like Shakhtar just keep asking for more and more money. Is he actually worth? They said they want Grealish money, not Anthony money.
That's mad. I mean, that is mad. Like, if listen, I want a massive mansion, but I ain't gonna have one. Do you know what I mean? You have to be realistic at some point. He is not 100 million.
He's not from what you've seen, because I haven't really.
Not from what I've seen. 21-year-old, really highly rated, Ukrainian international, plays on the left wing, really quick, really tricky, really technically good. But come on, it's the Ukrainian league. Fred come from the Ukrainian league. Do you know what I mean? So he could come and be, is this a risk? Every signing is a risk, right? Especially one that's that much. I think from what I'm hearing, Romano has said we've put in 40 million with 20 million pound add-ons. I think they're looking for like 50 to 60 million with the amount of add-ons. It's going to be like Pepe money that Arsenal paid again, I believe, something around that. He's playing on the left. He's definitely not a centre forward, which means that he's going to stick with Eddie and use Martinelli potentially in the middle. And when Smith Rowe comes back, we've got competition across that front three. So I think the signing makes sense. But it's a lot of money if it is going to be Jack Grealish money, because let's be honest, Jack Grealish, 25 years old when they signed him, Premier League proven English international.
Yeah,
we ain't getting that. We're getting a young 21-year-old who's never played in the league. So it could be a huge risk if we're going to go to that money. But I think it would still be an interesting signing, Matisse.
I'm surprised Arsenal haven't moved on to alternatives. It tells me that they really must want this guy. I know he really wants to come. He's been putting on his Instagram stories, watching Arsenal games and whatnot. He's proper twerking for them. But with that kind of money on the line, I'm surprised you guys haven't looked elsewhere. But obviously, once you've got a target set in your head, you guys are pretty specific with what you want to bring into the team. We obviously saw last January you didn't even bring in a striker because you couldn't find one that you maybe wanted, or Vlahovic didn't get done or whatever. So it's fair game. Obviously Tobs is not present, you know what I'm saying, ducking and diving from the task. But I have got some funny responses from Tottenham fans, Fuad in particular, and Tobs, on just some of the comments they left on Twitter. And we know Fuad, friend of the show, pretty pissed with the transfer window that they had last summer. He was telling everybody to calm down. It's not an A-star window. This is pretty underwhelming considering the fact that they've got Antonio Conte, who's got a massive pool. They're in Champions League. They've got a new stadium. Their revenue is higher than it was before. All of these factors, and yet people were gassing up the signings of Perisic and obviously Richarlison for a massive amount of money, who still, am I correct in saying, doesn't have a Premier League goal to his name in a Tottenham shirt? So he's pretty pissed. Obviously, he says basically it's Kulusevski or bust. And no Bentancur in midfield. It's a shame that Tobes is missing this one, because he would have been ecstatic to see no Emerson Royale in that team. But then when you see someone like Tanganga in the back three, it's almost like, you cheer and you have ecstasy and you're elated, and then you just back down to earth immediately, because you can clearly see at Tottenham, for all the goals that they're conceding and all of these comebacks that keep happening, great mentality point, you're going to get a check for that or whatever. But to continuously keep going 2 goals down most of the time in the first half, with that quality of centre-backs that we're talking about, Ben Davies, Eric Dier, Tanganga, these are mid-table level centre-halves, really. I mean, it's insane. Do you guys think that they're at risk for top 4? Because we know that that's a bare minimum requirement for Tottenham. But when I was tallying up the teams, there's 7 teams that will feel like they should or could be in top 4. There's 4 places. 3 teams are going to underperform this season. You got Arsenal. Arsenal look like they're in there. Man City look like Man City are in there. Newcastle are the problem. They're throwing themselves in the pack. And then you've got Tottenham, Man United, Chelsea, and Liverpool. Somebody,
there's going to be some disappointed teams, man. There's going to be some disappointed teams, but this is the Premier League. This is why, actually, when people say, he wants to go to the Premier League, he doesn't want to be playing Champions League football then. That's what makes me laugh. People say he wants to play Champions League football. Don't come to England, because you ain't guaranteed it unless you play for Man City. So this is the thing. And, people laugh when you say that, but it's true. You can't predict this top 4. And Tottenham are massively at threat, 100%, because they can't defend. If they actually had a couple of centre-halves in there that actually could play football, then you can blame Conte as much as you want for his tactics and sometimes the fact that he's quite negative. But actually, you can't polish a turd, man. You can try and roll it in glitter, but literally, mate, that's what he's got to try and do, because these are terrible players like Ben Davies, Tanganga, Davidson, Sanchez. I mean, Eric Dier, what is he actually doing? Like, clear the ball, man. What are you actually doing? This guy... And
bro, he shanked it. Like, what was that? Do you remember when Tobes was kind of starting to give him a little bit of flowers, and I was saying, listen, you need to hold on there, cowboy. And
I was happy, Matisse. I'm happy. I'm happy for this guy to still be at centre-back at Tottenham, because they absolutely love the guy still, and it's brilliant for me to see. Keep him in. He's world-class. Keep him playing, because he's so bad. And do you know what? He's not even the worst one. Yeah? That's the mad thing. He's not even the worst one, and he's so bad. So, they'll miss Bentancur. They've got fantastic front three. They have Kane, Son, and Kulusevski, for me, are all wicked. Richarlison will score goals. We've seen that. It's not really worked out for him at Tottenham so far, but he will. But my God, they look so bad at the back, mate. And it doesn't matter whether it's Chicken Royale, Matt Doherty, that Perisic has been a disappointment. To be fair to Lawless, he called that and said, just calm it down, 34 years old, but Tobes wasn't having it. He hasn't been great. He's got a good cross of the ball. That's about all I've seen so far. So I need
that
to
was
see
the
more
signing
from
they
Tottenham.
hyped up the most. Like, obviously,
Big
apart
time,
from
unbelievably.
making...
They were like bowing down to him. Like, listen, he's been a great player and was fantastic in Inter Milan, but I didn't see him play left wing back too much. If I'm honest with you, I don't think he's looked fantastic. He was always known as a winger whenever I watched him play. So I feel personally like Tottenham are definitely in danger, but I still think they'll get it because they've got one of the best managers ever, in my opinion. Like,
I used to
superb,
think
isn't
that
it?
they would get it by
man.
default. I'm not so sure anymore because after Liverpool have gone and got Gakpo, immediately stated their intentions, brought in Gakpo to replace Diaz, who's obviously out injured. Nunez is obviously shooting like as if somebody cussed out his mother. Do you know what I'm saying? He has no composure, no accuracy, just he's wild, but he's getting a lot of chances. Salah's there. Liverpool are not going to go away quietly. I know that for sure. They might make it, they might not, but they're not going to go away quietly. And I don't think Conte being a top manager, when you've got other very, very good managers around you and top managers around you, like Klopp, you know what I mean? Very good managers like Eddie Howe. I don't think it's just a guarantee that you're just going to get in there by default when you're conceding constantly. I mean, right now, when you look at Tottenham, what is their strength? Mentality-wise, you want to give them a point for the comebacks, but then you say mentality, why you keep going 2-0 down in the first half? Are you taking things lightly? Are you underestimating? What is the problem? When we were trying to dissect it on Talking Tactics with James, we was looking at the possession, we was looking at the amount of passes from first half to second half against Brentford, and there's no real change. It's only passes into the final third that drastically goes up in the second half because maybe they're a little bit more punchy, they're a little bit more aggressive. But this is a continuous problem from before the World Cup. Even in the Champions League, they were lucky to get out of that group. I haven't been impressed with Tottenham in terms of performances for more than a handful of times this season. And I feel like they're a false narrative in the position that they're in. They don't deserve to be where they are. Liverpool are going to catch them. Man United, you know, I don't think it's guaranteed anymore, Potts. I think they're really, unless they go strong in the January window, they're looking really...
I agree it's not guaranteed. And I'm with you. It isn't guaranteed. The reason I think that they will get there is two things. They score goals because they've got an elite strike force, and they have a manager who doesn't lose them many games. I mean, they didn't lose at the weekend. They still got a point back. When you thought they were going to 2-0 down against Bournemouth, they lost. No, they haven't. They won 3-2. So you're right in terms of the mentality. They can come back. Their defense will let them down. If they don't get top four, it won't be Conte, Kane, Son, Kulusevski. It'll be their defense. It is shocking, mate. They miss Romero. When Romero comes back, they look better all of a sudden, like instantly. But it's still poor. Like their fullbacks and their centre backs are so bad. Like it's mad. And that would let them down. I think Newcastle were the ones 1 game a week that people have been sleeping on because it's Newcastle. They have done so well. I think Manchester United will be a different side now that Ronaldo's gone. It'll be good to see. I know it's only Forest, but it'll be good to see what they do on a few games of a run. Liverpool are going to be in it, in my opinion. I think Liverpool are too good not to be in the top 4. They might not win the title. They're not going to drop out the top 4, in my opinion. And I think, like you say, Arsenal and City are there, so it's going to be Newcastle, Spurs, or United.
Tottenham ain't getting it. They ain't getting.
I hope not. I hope not. I hope not.
This is not happening. It's not happening. They ain't getting over the line. They're not. I really think Liverpool are going to have a strong second half to the season. Like you said, Newcastle, mate. Let's see what they do in January now and how they strengthen. They're looking a lot better than Spurs. Let's be honest. And you can see things can sort of turn a bit sour. I think with Spurs and
Conte as well. Things can turn sour with Conte very quickly.
That's what I mean.
Conte is very good when it's going well and when they're winning and they're winning leagues and stuff. But if it goes the other way and he doesn't get backed in January with enough funds and he doesn't get the players he wants with that defense, I think what they're doing is very unsustainable. And I wouldn't be surprised if he starts. He was already lashing out away from home to Burnley, was it? He started cussing out.
That was hilarious.
Like he's not one of them guys that will, in a mature, composed fashion, bring them into the top 4 quietly or, deal with all of these adversities in a smooth, calm fashion. If he doesn't get what he wants, he's going to start lashing out. And the contract is still not signed as well. So Tottenham are either going to back him in January and go in an upward trajectory or they're going to implode. I don't think it will be anything in between. With those players in that defense, I was shocked to see some of the individuals back there. Eric Dier, Fuad was tweeting saying, people wanted to give this guy a new contract. He's abysmal. We're looking at players like Son that Lawless was arguing about with Tobs a few months ago. Still not seeing Son. World Cup was poor. I'm seeing Tottenham fans are turning on him as well. Still haven't seen Son step up. Harry Kane gets his goal, fair play, but it's not looking rosy. I'm not gonna lie.
Do you think, right?
It's not sustainable.
Honestly, how many managers' jobs are on the line if they don't get in the top 4 for you? Like, is it? Because I say this because there's going to be, we've already discussed, there's going to be a few teams that drop out of this top 4. How many of the management positions are vulnerable? And I'm talking Potter, Ten Hag, Conte, obviously Arteta.
Ten Hag's not.
I think
not.
only Conte.
Only Conte.
Maybe Arteta. I think if Arsenal was to somehow not even finish top 4,
yeah, then he'd have to leave. I'm sorry, he'd have to leave.
Yeah,
I agree with that. What about,
that would be a capitulation of capitulations. Like,
I mean, even if we come 4th, that something's gone wrong this season, in my opinion. So even if we still get it, that would be poor from where we've been. What about Klopp?
I don't think so, because this is the thing. A lot of people like to throw about how Moyes has got credit in the bank because we got to a European semi-final in Europe.
Yeah.
You know, this guy has genuine credit in the bank. Won them their first league title in like 30 years, Champions League, 2 Champions League final, FA Cups, League Cups. You know, their most successful manager in a long time. I think if they was to finish 5th or whatever, or 6th, he should be allowed to go again. There's potential new investment coming in with more money. I would say they should back him. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I would say so too. I think with all he's done, he can afford to have a big dip in a season.
The reason I asked that for a reason, because I'm with you. I think it's Conte who's the one, and Arteta, of course, because he's had his time, you know, to get this team right, etc. The reason I asked that is because the answer, as we've agreed, is probably Conte, like we say, right? That's because Tottenham ain't really got a plan, have they? Whether you believe a plan's going to work,
everything is about right now.
Right now. Exactly. Yeah. It's about right now, which to me is not a bad route to go down, because it's all football's about now. Shouldn't be about in 5 years' time. Who knows what's going to happen, right? It should be about now. The problem with that, if it doesn't happen, what do you do? And they've tried everything. They've tried an attacking manager in Pochettino. They tried a proven winner in Mourinho. They've tried a win-now manager in Conte. If this doesn't work, what actually happens with Spurs? This is why I'm absolutely praying it doesn't work out, because this is a desperation. It shows ambition, because obviously they've gone for a huge CV manager, but it's desperation. It's like, please come and try and save us, because we are in so much trouble.
The thing is, I wouldn't even sack him, though, if I'm Spurs. If say they finish 5th,
would I, but
like, you know, I feel like, yeah, the context of, you know, not like the window they had, it started hot. Everyone was like, geez, you know, they're going in quick, they're getting the business done, and then it just faded out. Everyone thought that they was gonna go on that window and get everything that they needed, and like we've pointed out, they've left their defense massively short. So if I'm Spurs, I hope that he decides to stay. And I give him all the I mean, they should be giving it in January, but if not, they need to hope he stays and just continue to back the guy, because, like you said, Potts, they've tried everything else. What do they do? You know, do they just go back to Poch, which a lot of the time going backwards, it don't work out. You know, it's that this is now or never. This is a winning manager. You know, so if they don't win something with him, well, they're never going to win something. Just try and keep hold of him and back him. So I don't think his job is at risk. It's only really at risk if he decides it's that, like, he wants to leave. That's the risk. The risk is from him dumping Spurs, not Spurs dumping him.
I've never liked that mindset, though, on their side, is that they feel like this is the best girl they've ever been with, and they have to cater to her every need. And if she spits on them, you know, they just wipe the spit off and keep strolling down the park, and they get the coat and they dash it on the floor and let her walk over the puddles. And they're literally simping for Conte. And I get he's a winner, and their club is not known for winning, so they're just grasping to anyone who could potentially give them a trophy, because that's all this is. This is short term. When you bring in a Perisic, it's not a long term thing. Do you know what I mean? Now the club are kind of at divide with Conte in that respect, because Conte would love to go and sign a bunch of 30-year-olds who can do it right now, but obviously the club model is to go and get a Spence who he hasn't used, to go and get a Romeo who's a bit younger before he arrived, and to actually bring in players that have market value and potentially could be sold for profit, because Spurs are not some Man City juggernaut. But in saying that, that means you have to win a trophy this season. And I said it to Tobs already, you've only got the FA Cup next. And if you come out the top 4 and you pick up no trophy this season, you finish 5th, say, with no trophy, that is a damning indictment on everything happening at Tottenham, because long term, you're not building like, say, Chelsea are trying to build with their new recruitment team and all of these young players are coming in. Arsenal already doing that. Liverpool have already gone and got Gakpo, and then they brought in Nunes, who's quite young, still rough around the edges. There's a lot of teams that have a lot more financial muscle that are building right now quickly trying to recover and sort themselves out. Man United as well, we have a great window. You can't compete with these teams, not historically, transfer market-wise in terms of pool, if Conte's not there, and financially. So you better get it right now and pick up a damn trophy and leave with something. Because if you don't leave with something, you know, I can cling on to the glory days of champion. You ain't got shit. Like, you better leave here with something. Because if Newcastle actually are here to stay right now, I thought they were going to be in the top 8. Maybe they might crack the top 7. You know, they might take advantage of one team, 6th. But if they actually finish in the top 4, which is still a long way to go, but their financial power as well, and they got a massive support, there's no reason really, if you were to have it as an even playing field, why someone has to go to Tottenham more than Newcastle. If they're the teams competing for that next big 6 spot, because Tottenham automatically are on the fringes of it because of the lack of trophies. Newcastle are the automatically ones coming in. There's no reason why you would, apart from London and that factor of living in London, if we're talking about ambition, talking about finance, there's no manager now with Eddie Howe. There's no reason why you should absolutely go to Tottenham. So they're in some serious shit if they don't get this right. They really are.
January is probably the most important for Spurs. Out of all the teams, they probably need January more than anyone. Because like you say, it's just so key that they get it right now. And if they don't even get Champions League football for next season, you know, like you said,
financially they're screwed as well.
Yeah,
financially,
they're screwed financially.
And Harry Kane's at his peak, Son's at his peak. They're the 2 best players, renowned best players for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. If you don't take advantage of those 2,
how old is he now?
Lloris,
Like,
you have to take advantage of that.
They're the only team that aren't so far got a long-term so this is what I was meaning. If it goes wrong for the other clubs, I genuinely believe the majority of them will keep their managers in the top 6. I genuinely believe that. If it goes wrong for Chelsea, which let's be honest, Matisse, it could do, Potter will stay because, you know, you've just got him. Also, Ten Hag, Man United, I think he'll get it right eventually. Arteta, I can't see him dropping out of the top 4, and that will keep him his job. Likewise, Pep and Klopp. So really, you're looking at Tottenham thinking, what's going to happen there? Like, if they don't, imagine if they get Conference League football and Newcastle, Liverpool, United, you know, Arsenal, City, all finishing above them. Can you imagine that? Like,
Cyborg FC incoming. I don't care where West Ham are. I don't care. I'm trolling the shit out of Tobs if they get Conference League. And I can see it. Like you said, it's not crazy to think that. I think Spurs, man, like next our next few years' time are going to be in a very bad place. Because like Matisse said, they've done everything they can to make it happen now.
And should have done more, though. If you wanted to make it happen right now, you knew you needed a centre-back. He wanted Bastoni. Go and get another left-sided centre-back. Not Leng. You know what I'm saying? Go and get someone serious. Go and get a real left-sided centre-back that is title-winning credentials levels. You know, go and get a right-sided centre-back or a central. I think it was a central in a back 3 centre-back. People think that Conte just miraculously can come up. He has good players or players that he wants. When he went to Inter Milan, listen, you got Hakimi, you got Lukaku. Like, he got players that he wants. At Chelsea, you know, he had David Luiz in the middle of that back 3, Gary Cahill, but he has people he can trust. I don't believe that he really trusts a lot of these players that he's got in this defense. And his defense, if you look at Conte and you speak about strengths, you always say, okay, defensively, you're going to be strong. This is not a Conte team conceding 2 goals per game in the first half. That is not what you come to expect. Everybody's been able to put up with the style of play, the lack of attacking impetus potentially at times, and not being free flowing. What's getting at me mostly is the fact that they keep conceding goals. That's not very Conte-like. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether they can clean that up. But we're going to wrap up. We ain't going to get into Chelsea because we don't have time, and also because, I mean, there's just so much to talk about, and I'm not gonna just quickly run through it because I can't. It's not possible.
We did beat Bournemouth. Is underway. Let's say that the Potter process is underway.
Potter process. What are you talking about? Potter process.
Process.
Process. I thought you said protest. I was like, what are you talking about?
No.
Listen, Tobs didn't come. It's fine. We shit on his club while he's not here. Okay, so you have to hold that. Do you know what I mean? No, that's your business. Yeah, so we cover Tottenham. Don't worry, no Tottenham fan. But
if they win this weekend, yeah, we don't want to hear nothing from Tobs about gloating positive. You weren't here for when your team, didn't win.
When your team needed you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
who do Tottenham even have next? Actually,
I think they have Villa at home.
Okay, Villa at home.
Who like Emery now? You know, I think he's transforming the fortunes of that team. So that's not a straightforward game. They could lose that, and boy,
you got Brentford and obviously Arsenal away from home to Brighton, which is Brighton away is a tough game, very tough game.
Very tough.
Who you got?
We play Nottingham Forest away from home. There's a lot going on. We beat Bournemouth. It was nice. Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, great performances. Sterling right wing. Let's see if this is consistent, because there's no point us giving too much praise, and for me, it's a pinch of salt performance is what I call it. If we give too much praise and we give too much accolades, and then they go and stink up the place against Nottingham Forest, or they stink up the place in the next match, then it doesn't really mean much. So it's great.
Your January's going to be mad.
Our January's going to be mad.
Your January's going to be mad.
You've seen Enzo Fernandez, bro.
120 odd million. You're going then. Honestly, man, I think this Bowley guy is mad. This
is why I protested outside of the Great Walls of Stamford Bridge to make sure that no rickets came in. Because imagine if we had them, they wouldn't be doing this. This is some next level shit, bro. I've never seen this club so active, like in not just obviously transfers, but in terms of recruitment stuff. It's just insane. So yeah, we ain't got time to dissect all that. And this is loads of Chelsea content on this channel anyway. But Potts, let them know where to find you. Pleasure as always, bro.
Man, absolute pleasure. Thank you both, and happy New Year to you both. If you want to come follow me, then at DanArsenal87 on all socials, and on Football's 12th Man podcast on YouTube. Please come over and hit a subscribe. I'm on my way to 7K for the new year, so if you can help me with that, people, that'd be great. Cheers, Matisse.
Lawless, let them know where to find you, bro. Pleasure as always. Great show.
Yes, West Ham Fan TV. You'll see me outside after the game, giving my reaction to us probably losing, or at best drawing. So look out for that Friday. Watch along will be going on with Jace and that. So check out that. Obviously, apart from this channel, you can see me on Potts' channel, 12th Man. Latest episode is up now. So more venting, more therapy, and me fighting off people that say I shouldn't be on a Race for Europe show. We're still in Europe. We're still in a race for Europe. I don't care.
It's true. While you're still in the Conference League, you can actually still qualify for Europe. So
yeah,
it's true.
It is true. All right. Well, guys, listen, make sure you smash up the like, subscribe to all the boys. Tobes will be back. Hopefully the schedule is a bit back to normal next week. I don't know the fixtures. I hope so, because this week has been just anarchy, absolute anarchy.
We'll get Tobes' review of Avatar as well. He was very keen to see that.
Until next time, in a bit, people. Peace.